Yo, 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 hello and welcome to the Lenko Show. This is episode number 101. I'm kicking off this next block of 100 episodes with fellow Titans teammate and teammate from GB, Jack Watson. So we're going to be chatting to him about all things football, his journey into it, life at the Titans, and also what he's made of the GB program so far since he's been involved. So, very, very much looking forward to this, and I'm not going to hang around too much longer. Let's get on with it and see what's going on with Jack. Jack, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing,
Thanks
mate?
for all good, man. Thanks for having me.
I'm very relieved and pleased that you've got a much better connection than Sam Fossey.
Well, I mean, Sam Foss's connection with the world is usually a bit loose, isn't it? So it's pretty easy to beat that.
Is that a bit like his tackling, or is that fair? Just because he doesn't put his arms around people.
They're too short to get round people.
Yeah. He's effective though. He's
Yeah,
effective.
absolutely, absolutely. I wouldn't particularly like to get one of Foss's hits, but
No.
that's what it is.
So well, essentially we're just going to be talking all things football today. We're going to be covering the Titans, GB, and like we will be discussing in a bit more depth as to like what it's like stepping up the levels, which obviously you've done with the Titans, you've done now as an individual athlete for GB and things like that. So we will be touching on that. That's something that I get asked on quite a lot, and generally, like my life is revolved around helping people get to the next level. So if you can cue a few people in with the likes of that, that would be really, really useful. So we'll see how we get on. We've got loads to go through, and we'll just start with just talk me through your intro into American football because it's a weird fucking sport to get into as a British athlete.
Yeah, so I was quite lucky to be fair. So my parents moved over to the States when I was 6. So spent a year and a half in California. Had no interest in football at all. My dad coached soccer over there. So when we moved to Florida when I was 8, it turned out I was a bit too aggressive for soccer. Kept getting sent off, red card after red card.
Sorry, at 8 years old,
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
getting red carded.
yeah.
What were you doing?
Uh, just like punching people, 2-footed challenges. Somebody beat me for speed. I'd just, you know, make sure they didn't get through on goal. So, so yeah. So my dad had a conversation with another parent and said, like, I don't know what to do with him. Like, he's just he can't. I can't keep letting him play soccer because he keeps getting sent off all the time. So then one of the parents was like, oh, you should, get him to go and play uh, like American football. So I went down to a team called the Northport Mustangs, Pee Wee football, um, and I mean it was good. It was good fun. I wouldn't say that football became a big part of my life at that point. And then I played Pee Wee football, and went on to high school, played high school football for Northport High School, and then at 16 moved back to the UK, did college. I hadn't played football for 2 years. Went to university at Teesside and found out that there was an American football team. I was like, oh, go and give that a go. So I was at Teesside for a year. We were trash, didn't win a game. And then somebody was talking about adult football and summer leagues, and I was like, all right, let's have a look at it. Found out that there was a team in Lancashire. Went to Lancashire Wolverines. They were in Division Two at the time. Uh, Back-to-back promotions to the Prem. Had relatively good years in the Prem up until 2016, and then a bit of a decline in footballing there. 2018, moved to Manchester Titans. Then some work commitments came up, stopped playing football, went into coaching, and then 2021, went back into playing. Decided, right, I'm bored of this coaching malarkey and watching people not play it what I wanted, how I want to play football. So got back into playing. Decided to go to the Titans. Sam Bloomfield can take pretty much 100% of the credit for that. Um, and yeah, here we are, 2 national championships and a GB call up later.
Done pretty well so far. I think
Mm.
Bloomfield is definitely a good recruiter.
Oh, absolutely. If any American college wants to know how to recruit people when they can't offer anything, they need to speak to Sam.
Imagine if Sam could actually offer something.
It would be insane.
That would be absolutely unbelievable. Um, where do you think all your kind of anger, aggression, where do you think all that came from? And like, obviously, you say that you started off playing football and then you went to American football. I think it's pretty much the way I started as well. I kind of fell into it by accident. Um, but do you think that was a case of the sport being the right one for you as opposed like that was just where your mentality was and that was what you needed to be doing? Because obviously, like you could have like continued playing soccer and then I don't know, tried to curb it maybe.
Yeah, probably. I think from being a kid, like even a young kid, my parents have always told me I was always like a very boisterous kid who liked to be rough and tumble. I was never one who was going to be soft with stuff. So
Did you have
I
any
just
brothers and sisters?
nah, only child.
Right.
So so yeah, so I think even more so when I got around other people, it was just like, right, I need to assert my dominance now because I can't do that at home because if there's nobody except for the cat to do that to.
You can't do that to cats. Tell me,
No,
tell
absolutely
me,
not.
tell me you didn't go and do a Kurt Zuma.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, well, because I think like me and my brother, that was a situation we always had each other to be able to like have scraps with, and you learn to handle yourself and then control yourself because you can't kill your siblings.
Yeah, absolutely.
But obviously, you're just practicing it on the football pitch and with people that deserve it. Really,
Yeah, absolutely.
got to do it in that controlled environment. So how did you find the difference of like football in the States than football in the UK?
So high school football in Florida isn't it's not the biggest of levels. So, you look at places like Texas, uh, where the high school football is like a religion. So Florida's more kind of little bit more relaxed with it. So I mean, it was still intense. We still 4 days a week we had either practice or lifting. Um, During the summer we had 2 days, all that kind of stuff. So it was very intense. And to be honest, it was great for discipline. Like doing that at school, having to be at school at 6 o'clock in the morning for a lift, and then have practice after school when it's 100 105 degrees out is pretty it makes you become a person that can handle things.
What was the training like? Because I think like
Um,
from a coach's standpoint, I read all kinds of stories about how athletes were made to do 110s and multiple like you can't call them sprints because no one's going to be able to run them fast enough, but multiple relay efforts to one end of the field and back on a continuous basis, minimal rest, like just conditioning for the sake of I don't know, trying to fuck people up a little bit. Like what?
Yeah. I mean, like, so for example, something that my head coach implemented in my second year at high school was for every 10 yards of penalties the team got, we had to do a lap of the bleachers, which is up and down both. Um, so you go up the stairs, down the stairs, and there was 10 sets of stairs throughout the bleachers. So for every 10 yards, you had to do one lap of that. And we soon became a pretty disciplined team because we didn't want to you didn't want to do it, but you were doing them every week because you're going to get a holding call or you're going to get a false start and stuff like that. So um, yeah, you were doing at least 2 or 3 laps of them every week, and then if you got ejections, personal fouls, unsportsmanlikes, you were then held after practice. And you were doing some form of sprints for however long the coach decided until they got tired, really. So
I like that. How many of that did you have to do? Were you staying behind late every week? Was it voluntary or
well, it definitely wasn't voluntary.
was it
It
deferred?
wasn't. I wouldn't say it was every week. I wasn't a good football player at high school, so I was a year ahead at school. I was always the youngest and smallest everywhere I went. Um, which so I didn't play that often. Um, we at JV we played 8 games a year, and then when I went to varsity in my third year at high school, we played 12 games a year. So, but I was typically on the bench. I got my first start at varsity level about three-quarters of the way through through the season, and then yeah, but you knew not to do anything stupid because I was a kind of chubby kid who didn't like running in the sun, so you didn't do anything daft to get kept behind after practice.
And how does it compare with playing in the UK for you? What do you think the biggest differences are?
The biggest difference is the time that we can give to it. So, you know, I think Britain needs to somehow professionalize the sport or semi-professionalize the sport. Training twice a week, it it's okay, but if you want to take it up a notch and become a much better team, then you need to practice more. Um, so I think that's kind of that's got to be the next step is more practices.
How do you think we bridge that gap?
I don't really know.
Because
It's a tough one.
this is the other factor, like the finances involved. Like people ask me this all the time. They're like, "Oh, do you get paid a lot to do that?" It's like, "Oh, fuck off. Do we heck?"
No.
Like if you've got a roster of like, let's say if you were to go right international style roster, you've got 45 people. Like semi-professional football over here, you've got a squad of 16 where if they play on a match day, they get paid.
Yeah.
They're not in the squad, they don't get paid. So let's say you've got a roster of 45 people. At some point, probably every single one of those 45 are going to be on the field,
Yep.
bar maybe a couple. You're going to pay, let's say if it was 40 people, like even 60 quid a game.
There's a lot of
The,
money.
the expenses in comparison to other sports out there are massive, aren't
Yeah. And this is why you need, you know, I'm sure it's being talked about by BAFA, but
they?
um, we need to be approaching American companies that have, big American companies that sell product or do things in the UK. So, for example, Budweiser sponsored the league in what was it, the late 80s, early 90s. They sponsored the whole league. There was loads of money available. Um, there's a reason why British football was, you know, not I won't say a better standard because that's probably harsh on what we're doing now, but it was thought of more by the rest of Europe and the world for producing better football. But it's because you were able to because there wasn't so much cost involved. There's plenty of people who, uh, let's talk Manchester for example. There's plenty of athletes in Manchester who just wouldn't be able to afford to play for the Manchester Titans because they don't have that expendable income to do it. So the next step is to try and make football more affordable for people, I think.
That's not an easy one to figure out, is it?
No, no, and I don't. I'm not saying that I could do a better job at it than the people who are doing it now. Like there's plenty of people who chat shit on forums and on social media about how shit of a job BAFA do about getting funds into British American football. But if they had all these great ideas, they'd be the CEO, wouldn't they? So
Yeah, do you know where that's up to now? Because they are
no idea.
appointing a new CEO, did it? Did
I
you
haven't got
did
a
you
clue.
apply?
No, God
Nothing
no.
behind the ring. No.
I would have done if they paid me what Pete Ackley was on, but once they I think they cut the wage in half and made it part time. I was
Mate, was it not already part-time?
well, probably, but
I'd take 50K a year for part-time work. I'd take
100%.
25.
Yeah.
I think I'd
So
upset too many people. I don't think it'd work.
might be what's needed.
How have you personally found sort of like the progression and the step up from the Titans to GB?
I love it. Is brilliant. Like so, uh, I talk to people about this quite a bit, and one of the things that I love about GB is that every single rep is competition. So there's reps in games, there's certain reps in practice where think you don't have to try as hard or whatever. You know who you're lined up against isn't at a level where you need to put your maximum effort in to beat them. Whereas at GB, you are playing the best in the country no matter what position you line up in. So if I'm coming through on a blitz, I know for a fact that the offensive lineman or the running back are going to be the best in the country. So I have to compete every time. I love it.
How do you feel like you're measuring up in that competition?
Listen,
Do you feel,
if I wasn't confident enough to say that I'm up there with the best in the country, then I wouldn't have gone continuously to GB and said I'm one of the best in the country.
yeah,
So
I like that. That's a good attitude. How would you grade yourself so far? Because were you involved at the start of this year?
yeah, so I joined I got invited to the trial in January. So I
Yeah.
didn't do the one in December, got brought through to the one in January, and then have been at the practices since then.
So if you were to give yourself a grade for the first few months of life at GB, from an A star through to a, do we go as far as U? We don't need to go that far down, will we? Where would you put yourself in relation to your performances so far?
I'll give myself a B. I missed one practice with broken wrist, which was frustrating. Um, but yeah, like picking up a new scheme, it's always difficult. GB scheme is going to be not an easy one to kind of just look at and go, all right, I've got that. It takes some studying. Um, physically, I feel like I'm there, but mentally is obviously where you've got to pick it up. So yeah, I give myself a B,
And do you think there's plenty left in the tank? Do you think there's plenty more to come?
100%. There's always more to come.
Where do you think the biggest gains are for you?
I want to be a bit quicker, which is why I mean, like since the start of the season, I've lost about a stone. So I want to be a bit quicker, but maintaining the strength. So got to keep, staying in the gym. And then it's just, I've got to study. I like to think I'm one of the smartest footballers in Britain. So the more studying I can do, can put myself ahead of the people who I'm competing with for spots, both at Titans and at GB, and then to then beat the Germans and the Swedes.
And do you think that, like you mentioned before, that you had a bit of coaching experience as well, where you went and did that? Do you feel like that helps you when it comes to doing the study, the preparation, the mental side of things?
Yeah, 100%. Like if you are an American footballer who wants to get better, go to a level that is beneath your playing level and coach. It will do you wonders because you will see things that players do that you do that are wrong, and then once you've coached it out of somebody else, you will find that you will coach it out of yourself.
What about observing people from a level above?
Another brilliant thing to do. Learn from people better than you and pass that knowledge on to people who are below you.
Who would you say you've learnt from?
I've been I've been very lucky actually, Lenny. So I do some stuff with the Jags camps. So I get invited to coach at the linebacker Jag camps. Sorry. So I've I've been lucky enough to speak to some like Jags players, Jags coaches, Jags Hall of Famer, um, and just speak to them about football. So stuff like that's been great. But then there's people who I've played with who I've learned from. I mean, special teams used to be something that I used to walk away from and be like, I can't be off special teams, it's boring. Meet somebody like you who's obsessed with it, and
Wait,
then
wait. How typical would you think that mentality is across the board? Because like,
oh man, huge. Like people think that special teams is boring, and I was one of those people up until the start of last year. I used to stand in the wall of punt just because I was a bigger body who could kind of absorb and deliver a hit and protect a punter. From the start of the new install of Titans special teams and the GB special team stuff, I'm like, special teams is dead interesting. Like I've really like learned a lot about special teams. So, you know, just yeah, being around people who know more than you about a subject and absorbing them, be a sponge around those people it's important in football.
I think that's a really useful way to actually think about it, because I was going to say one of the things that I think a lot of people struggle with is actually reaching out for help and going, look, or, like, I'd say in some cases having the humility of going, look, you're a level above, like I need to go and speak to you. I need to find out more about how to do better, how to be better. Like, I started working with Dean Faithful last year. Like, he's in the CFL. Why would I not go and speak to a guy like that? And I can't understand why some people would kind of like sit there on the hands, let their ego get in the way of going, I know more than that person. I'm not going to speak to them. I'm not
Oh,
interested in
people are too
anything they've
scared
got
to
to do.
talk to people. So 2017, we got a new offensive coordinator in at Lancashire Wolverines who decided to take us back to I formation. I got asked, Jack, will you be a fullback? I was like, I've never played fullback before in my life, never carried a ball. I had no idea what I was doing. And I was like, I'm just gonna like message loads of people who have played fullback before and just see what happens. So I messaged Phil Heath on Instagram. He was the only one who answered. I messaged loads of other fullbacks, but nobody else decided to answer. Phil Heath answered me. We got on a call, and he was just like talked me through loads of cool stuff about being a fullback, and I was like, wow, I was like fucking notepads full of information, and probably 80% of it wasn't relevant to either the scheme that we were running or playing football in Britain or whatever. But just to absorb information from somebody who was a million times better at me than something was just incredible. And I think, like you say, people's egos get in the way and they're too scared to say, you can do this very well. Can you share that knowledge with me? I mean, Irish is one of the best linebackers in the country, and there's lots of things that Irish does better than I do. But when I see him do something, I say, talk me through that because, well, if you've got it in your arsenal, I want it in mine. So,
Just to clarify, you did say Arsenal then, didn't you?
oh yes, I did say Arsenal. Sorry, Ola. Um,
No, no,
anyway,
I didn't think for that. I was thinking like it sounded a little bit like you said arsehole.
no, no, gosh,
Instead of
no. I don't want
he's got
anything in my arsehole. Sorry, not my cup of tea.
anyway, we're talking about Arsenal, your repertoire of
Yeah.
capabilities. Anyway, what have you actually noticed as being the biggest difference between each of the levels that you've kind of progressed up?
Right. So let's talk about Div 2 football trash. Like it was just it's people who want to play football, but it's a group of it for me. It's very Sunday League-ish. You know what I mean? It's a bunch of lads who want to put the strap on, hit somebody, and then go for a pint afterwards. And like, nah, it don't matter, we're going to lose. Then when we were Div 1, a bit more competitive, um, but still a little bit of that lackadaisical attitude of like, it's just what we do for fun. And then the step to Prem is obviously when things get a bit more serious. People are there to actually win. We're in a world where everyone gets a trophy, but like, I don't, I hate that. Like, fuck your feelings. Like, if you want to win, be better. So, I think once you get up to that Prem level, there's a desire and a drive to win, and that comes from, the coaching staff, the committee, through to the players, and I think that's very important that all aspects of the team are striving to win, not just the players or not just the coaches. So, and then obviously you get up to international level, and it's like, wow, like every single player here has is here because they want to be here and deserve to be here. So it's the same with the coaching staff and those who run the national programs. They're obviously the best of what they do, and it's just it is really cool to have kind of been involved in all aspects of the British game.
How would you summarize how difficult training camp is for GB in terms of like
Yeah, it's brutal, man.
it's a long day, it's a lot of time on the field, it's a lot of time on your feet.
Yep,
Even when you're having your lunch, you're having to sit down, think, watch film,
yep.
talk things through, you're getting tested. I mean, I'm in a bit of an easier position than that because it's like kickball, straight line, good job. Bit simpler for me. So I don't
Well,
have to,
you say that, but
it's not,
I'm aware of the GB schemes for special teams, and I know that it's not as simple as
yeah,
point
but
shoot.
you have to know that and all your defensive stuff. And it's different in it.
Yeah, but I love it, and that's the other thing that you notice is that everybody who's sat there and would love to have an hour of just sitting with your cleats off, not thinking about football for a minute. But nobody wants that. They're all really engaged, really enjoying the fact that like I get to spend literally the whole day doing nothing but football.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
a
you,
nice
you
one.
couldn't you couldn't run a camp like that at most British teams because you'd have people who were like, oh, I can't be asked. You know, I don't want to, I don't want to get up early and start my practice at 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to, have a working lunch where we're reviewing what we did in the morning. I don't want to, keep going till 7 o'clock at night because, I've got other things that I want to do. Like when you get up to that level, it's so obvious that it's a priority to everyone.
That's a really interesting point, actually. Like you genuinely don't hear it, do you? You don't. Well, I don't do I? I don't think I do. I don't think at GB I've ever heard anyone kind of go, oh, can't be asked. Can't be asked.
People will say it, but they'll say it in a jokey manner, and you know that they're saying it just to because that's what their personality is. But
Or
actually, they're there
or
because they love it.
or actually, it's been in the context of having to walk all the way across to the Monica Partridge building and back.
Listen, as soon as I found out that that's a drivable thing to do, oh, it changed my life. That hill's just a killer.
Yeah, it feels like a lot. Feels like a long way. It feels a lot further than it should.
Mm.
Um, obviously that so international experience, step up from GB. I think everything in terms of playbook complexity, the amount you're expected to know, and you have to lean on your experience and the experience of your teammates around you. How did you find that experience carrying over into the first Manchester Titans European trip against the Stockholm Mean Machines earlier this year?
That trip was tough. Um, it was look that scoreline doesn't represent what happened on the day, but everybody who ever loses a game says that, so it means fuck all. However, there was five splash plays that their offense got that accounted for five of their touchdowns. So it's like, if we'd have been able to tighten up, then maybe I'm not saying that we would have won if we'd have tightened it up, but what I'm saying is we'd have put ourselves in a better position to. And if you have lots of people with the same goal or striving to achieve the same goal, then you're going to go out and you're going to be able to perform well. Now, I'm not 100% convinced that everybody had the same goal going into that Stockholm game. That, like, as a team, I think some people were happy to be a part of playing a game in Europe. Some people wanted to win a game in Europe, and some people were striving to win a game in Europe. Um, I'm not saying that anybody wanted to lose, but I'm saying that people had different levels of what they were happy with. And it was, it was a frustrating day. When you look at Stockholm and us as a team, as individuals, they weren't this, some kind of star-studded program. They had an American quarterback who was very good. They had, an American receiver who was very good. But we also have players who are extremely good. So I think there was just a few things that just didn't click, and we ended up getting spanked. But
Yeah,
we'll do it again next year, and
hopefully, hopefully.
next year we'll listen. There's no hopefully about it. Like
We
I, for,
we've got to go and earn that.
exactly, but for me, if you're not saying at this point in the season that you're going to do it, then it's pointless even fucking talking about it because you have to be confident to go on and have success. No shy man has ever won anything. Do you know what I mean? So
I think that Stockholm game, I was in an absolutely rancid mood afterwards. I went out for a really nice steak dinner with my dad and my uncle who'd come out to watch the game, and I barely said a word.
mm.
Barely said a word. I think I was just absolutely out of
I,
it.
yeah, I don't normally drink, and then got out there and I thought, oh, well, you know what, I'm just gonna have a few just to drown the sorrows, and it kind of takes the sting away. I will say though, the Stockholm players, so some of them came out afterwards. What a great group of guys! Like for those 60 minutes of football, your enemies, but after the game, what a great bunch of guys.
Yeah, I think like that's always for me. Whenever you play international, you play Europe. Because I spoke to everyone at the hotel before we went, and whenever I've played, played in that competition with, well, similar competition with Tamworth back in 2017, 2018, something like that, about 7 or 8 years ago now, and same sort of thing this time out. And obviously, you do all the scout, all the preparation. It's a much earlier time of the season.
Yep.
We've not been together that long. We had guys who had been playing uni ball coming in at sort of like the last minute and then, trying to catch up and get up to speed. And I think it's always really, really difficult going into a game under those circumstances. If you haven't been together or been around each other completely as a team and kind of lived in each other's pockets for a season, or got a good number of hours and practices under your belts, it's really difficult to gel and get clicking. And I don't know. I think probably my biggest regret is like in that pre-game kind of talk with the team. Like I believe that we were there to win.
100%.
100, like absolutely, that's what we were there to go and do. And I believe that we could win, albeit 51-49 in favor of winning. Like it was like personally, like I always knew it was going to be an absolute fight.
Oh yeah.
And I think that was the one thing that I don't regret actually saying is like this is going to be the hardest game you've ever played in your entire fucking life
Yeah, 100%.
because you're up against professional athletes. They've got the resources that we don't have, like they're able to train multiple times a week. We've traveled, they're at a home venue that they're familiar with. They're in conditions that they're very familiar with. Like I know we have a lot of cold, wet, windy, shitty weather over here, but it's their environment. They know what they're doing at halftime. They know where they're going. They know the pre-game prep. They know the routines, the timings, everything. Then you've got to get used to the game clock. The referees are on you for more things than you normally think about. And it can get very overwhelming if you haven't had that experience at that level. Like I know a lot of the time, every single time we've played for GB, you'll get to the end of the first quarter and like one of the rookies will go, fucking hell, is that it? And like
Yeah.
each team has had like a drive each, and then you're like halfway through the second drive, and that's
Yeah.
it. It's that fast. And
Yeah, them 12-minute quarters are quick.
and that play clock goes quick.
Hmm.
Like when you're taking reps in between, like we had, oh, do you remember the punt, the rollout punt,
Yes.
and we got a delay of game just before we snapped the ball,
Yep.
and then it put us 5 yards further back. And if we'd not got that,
We're on
maybe
a first
get
down.
us down. And
Yeah.
again, I think you can, because it is only 12-minute quarters, you very quickly and easily end up in a situation where you have to do things and reach a little further than
Yeah,
normal.
you have to take more chances, don't you?
Yeah,
That's as soon as you're on that back foot, you have to take more chances. And then if those chances don't pay off, you're even more so on the back foot. But
yeah.
if you don't take the chance, you're not going to get back up there anyway. So you have to do something.
Hmm. What
So
are the like? Let me ask you this: what are the things you're most mindful of when watching film or scouting an opposition? Because I always think the tape can be a little bit deceptive because everyone watches tape and goes, "Oh, they're shit. Oh, they're,"
everyone's shit on tape. You
and
know, it's
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 like
it's obvious.
I always just think whatever you see with your eyes while you're watching someone on tape, they are bigger and faster than you think, and they're stronger than they look.
Yep.
Understand that first, then watch what they do and
Yeah.
how. Like, what's your mindset when you sit down to scout someone?
So of course, there's particular athletes that you need to know about, individuals who bring something to an offense that you need to understand and you need to watch how they do things. I like to watch film. So I watch film multiple times. So the first time I might just watch every play once, typically, just get a vibe of how they operate as a team. Then I'll slow it down, go through an offensive line as a whole, what the receivers do, what the quarterback and running back pairing do as individuals, and then I'll break, no, sorry, as groups, and then I will break them down into individual people. So for example, for the Stockholm game, their right tackle looked like a very unathletic, uh, large human being who everyone, the conversation was, oh, we'll be able to beat him with speed all day. And actually, when you watch him on tape, you think, God, the other team must be really slow because he's doing everything. He's getting to his blocks, he's maintaining blocks, he's able to pull. And actually, it's nothing to do with the opposition. It's to do with the fact that you underestimated this person because of what you saw they looked like on film. And I can tell you now that that right tackle is an athlete. Like he is a large athlete. So, you can't judge.
It's a little bit like you remember Usain Bolt when he was sprinting and just getting out of the blocks, and everyone goes, "Oh, he's a slow starter." Like, no, he ain't. His reaction times in his first 10 meters, he's exactly the same as everybody else. But because he's a big guy, he looks like he's not getting going as quick.
Yeah,
And it's that whole deception of kind of, or I suppose that distortion of reality when it comes to like what you're actually dealing with in front of you is different to what you're seeing from the
yeah,
sidelines.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so just, people who, I know there's a lot of people who don't watch film, but people who do watch film need to remember, don't judge film, look at film as a scheme tool. It's not your be all and end all because, you know, everyone looks shit on film. I can guarantee you that teams that scout the Titans now will look and go, oh, they're beatable. Look at them on film. And then, we're doing all right. So,
We're going to say we're absolutely fuming after a 42 or something nil victory
yeah,
the weekend, aren't we? Like, not
yeah,
happy with that.
no,
Um, so right, quick, gonna go quick fire on a couple of these now. Are you the best linebacker at the Titans?
yes,
Tell me why.
because I believe I am. And if you don't believe you are, you're not. And if I didn't believe I was, what's the point in being there? There's absolutely no disrespect for the linebacking core at Titans. I love literally the whole group. Um, and I get to play with some absolutely phenomenal guys in my positional group. But if you're not saying you're the best, then why are you even there?
Why not?
Because
Got
I
that.
guarantee you ask that question to the rest of the group, they're all going to say yes.
That's the way it should be. Like if
Absolutely.
everyone feels like they're, I don't want to say like entitled isn't the right way to be in this instance. Like you need to have that steadfast belief in your own abilities,
Hmm.
not the arrogance to be like, I'm the best. I don't need to practice. I don't need to do this. I don't need to watch film. And I should start every game and play every snap. Like, that's
Yeah.
not the way it works. Like, yes, believe you're the best. As long as you're doing the work and those two things match up, everyone's happy. No one's going to complain. As soon as you switch off from that work aspect and delivering for the team, you fucked.
Yeah.
What are your best qualities that you think you bring to the team?
Um, a desire to win, aggression, and and football smarts,
Have you ever been ejected?
maybe.
What do you mean, maybe?
I've definitely been ejected.
Do you remember when?
To be fair, not for a while. I got ejected as a head coach. That was fun. Um, and then,
What did
oh,
you do in that instance? What did you do in that scenario? Because
oh
that's
man,
you're not going to
this was
fight
this was
anyone, are you?
ridiculous, right? No, so it was probably one of the most ridiculous ejections ever. However, during the game, was head coach Legs Wolverines, Merseyside Night Hawks game. There was a really really nasty helmet to helmet contact to one of our players. So I was arguing with the official, telling him that player safety is, paramount, and that that's their responsibility to look after the player's safety when things aren't going well. Um, he told me to step back, and I said, "I'm not stepping back until you agree that player safety is your remit. You need to look after that." And he said, if I said one more word about player safety, that he'd flag me for a 15-yarder. So I just said player safety. So I got flagged. 15-yard penalty. After the game, I went to speak to the head official and said, "Look, man, like just letting you know, I'm going to be putting in some complaints about the officiating crew. you in particular did a good job. However, there was one individual referee, which I won't name, um, who and the phrase I used was a cunt with our sideline. Anyway, referee goes off. Next thing, the whole officiating crew come out, drop a flag on the floor, said, "That's your second unsportsmanlike. You're ejected." And I was like, "The game finished 30 minutes ago, lads. Like, what are you on about?" So anyway, that was my ejection as a head coach.
That's
Um,
that's 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 brilliant. I fucking love
yeah, yeah. It was the fact that they even put the flag on the floor really made me laugh.
that. That's the that
So
display of yeah, you're in trouble now. There you
yeah,
go. Have you got like a trademark right? I'm pissed off thing that you go with? Like Jason Scott, if you've ever seen it, it's fantastic. If he's wearing a cap, he'll pick it up and throw it on the floor. That's when you know that he's lost his shit, and that's when you like the next defensive stand is going to be a big one.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever thought about it. You know, I've lost my shit a lot over the time. Like I am a completely different player now to what I was 5, 10 years ago. 5, 10 years ago, I felt like you had to play football angry, and that anger fueled aggression, and obviously you had to be aggressive to play football. And recently, I've learned that actually I don't have to be angry. I'm actually dead chilled. Me and George Foster, we found ourselves absolutely pissing ourselves laughing, like at games, practices, and stuff. And so when I was angry, I used to lose my shit a lot.
Do you think that took
Um,
away from your like mental focus and your actual mindfulness with regards to what's going on in the game?
not what being angry, 100%.
Mm.
I used to think that all I needed to do was hit somebody hard, and that was football. And okay, maybe that was a bit football when I first started playing, when everything was high formation offenses and they were trying to, pound the rock. But now there's so much to think about that you can't have a clouded mind. So another ejection of mine was I pulled David Saul's helmet off when we played Sheffield and threw it about 40 yards away. Um, and probably up until this point, I will have told you that it was accidental. But it was a 100% on purpose. Um, and that just came from pure anger. Nothing, what was the fucking point in that? It gained me absolutely nothing apart from a £50 fine for the team, £20 fine for me, and missing a game. It didn't achieve
How
anything.
how have you managed to keep a lid on it and control it? What do you think, or what do you think was the change? What flicked that switch?
Coaching, I think coaching really changed my mindset of football. Like telling people to stop doing things that, and then thinking, hold on a minute, Jack, like that's exactly what you would have done in that situation. Or like, pulling people away from fights. You know, I've I've not had a proper fight at like a practice or a game for a number of years. The last time I got in a fight was in 2018. Me and Googie went at it at a practice. So and again, stupid. Like we're punching each other with helmets on. You know what I mean? Like absolutely pointless. And then the next practice we're hugging. Like you know, it's, but yeah, I don't really know. There's certain times where I could feel myself kind of losing my shit, and that comes from anger. Not that I've forced myself into, but just when I get angry, I feel. But then I also can just put a lid on it and calm it back down. So definitely helped me be a better football player.
Where you've matured. That's
Hmm.
good. Hey,
Yeah,
that bit,
maybe I'm just
but
old.
that bit of responsibility is like helped you kind of
Yeah,
grow a little bit.
100%.
That's good. Should a safety be worth more than 2 points?
I think so. I've said this for a long time. Um, I'm not saying it should be a touchdown. However, you know, you're as a defense, you don't get that many opportunities to score, and the fact that it's only 2 points is it's a bit harsh, really. You know, if an offense gets into a good position, stalls, you can kick a field goal, you get three. So if a defense manages to put you in a bad position and stop you, I feel like that should be at least three.
Because the reason I asked that is because I got involved in something yesterday that you know when you just make a flippant comment and then get caught up in something.
Yeah.
So the NFL posted something on Instagram. Oh, here we go. There's more now. They posted something on Instagram of just like multiple safeties. And I was like, my comment, I think, was because it was the first one, because I literally saw it and just went straight away, bang. I went, a safety should be worth more than 2 points, get it changed. The amount of people that have jumped on the bandwagon there and gone, oh, you need to get your head checked, or like have a word with yourself, or think about it, like, no, it shouldn't, blah, blah, and like full on arguing with me. And I'm kind of sat here just going, all right, then you've got a different opinion, that's fine.
You're
But
allowed to have a different opinion, even if your opinion's wrong.
yeah, but I've got 1,079 people have liked it, and oh no, sorry, 1,080 have liked it, and
I'll get you 81 in a minute.
and then there's guys in the comments going, "Oh, look at all the comments you're getting. They're all saying no, you shouldn't. Blah, blah, blah. Fuck off." And the reason I feel very strongly about this because
Mm,
when we played against Italy, right, in the first game of Jason Scott's tenure as head coach, we pinned them deep. Defense did a fucking tremendous job, kept them on their own goal line. They threw a punt back over their own heads, and that ball was like a fraction of a second from being recovered by our defense, and their punter punted it out the side of the end zone. And for me, that basically took a touchdown off the board for us,
hmm
and it also meant that we started the next drive from a lot further because obviously
Yeah.
you get the ball back, so you
Yep.
score 2 points and you get the ball back, but you get the ball back on like, well, depending on where you return it to, possibly your own 30, maybe even your own 20-yard line. So that's not
Yep.
really an advantage.
I
So
would be happy with them changing the rule of a safety is worth 3 points, but then you kick it back to the team that just conceded the safety, like a field goal.
no,
I'd
see,
be happy.
I think if there's a safety, it should just result in a turnover of possession, and the team that caused the safety, their offense gets the ball on the 5-yard line. And then, like, ultimately, then you've got a chance to score.
Yeah.
Also, if you don't, you've got the chance to still kick 3 points because I don't like the idea of taking an intentional safety. And I've done it myself as a
Yep.
punter when
Yeah,
it's
because you know you understand the game. Yeah.
been snapped into my own end zone. And I've thought, well, I'm not picking up, turning around to get a level. I'm just going to whack it out of the back, take the 2 points and pin them deep. Not
Yep.
bothered. So I think, yeah, that's my. I'm glad we agree on that. And I knew you would as a defensive player. I
Yeah,
knew.
man. We don't get as much credit. You know, offense sells tickets, but defense wins games. That's what they say. So, you know, we we need a little bit more credit when it comes to the scoreline.
Next one. Should lower division rings be a thing?
If you want them to be, it's fine. Everyone
No,
knows what they
no.
are.
Why?
No, well, everyone knows what they are. Like,
Why?
I'd
Why?
take the
Why
piss
you?
out of there's Titans that have Div 1 rings, right? And I'm like, congratulations, you got a ring for coming 11th in the country, right? If you as a team want to do that, that's fine. However, the ones that say national champions on them, incorrect. You're not a national champion because there's people competing at a higher level than you. So if you want a Division 1 ring and it says Division 1 champions, okay, fair enough. I'm all right with that. But if it says national champions on it and you were competing in Div 2 or Div 1, then I believe that you should go and do something really harsh to yourself.
Yeah, boil your head.
Yeah.
Right, biggest mistake as an athlete.
That I've made.
Well, yeah, not that I've made. Yours.
Smoking. Smoking. I started smoking when I was 16 years old. And I can tell you now how much harder it has been to be an athlete. Yeah, I think that's a fucking good one actually.
What difference do you think it's made?
Like
And
my
do you still
cardiovascular,
do you still smoke now?
I've moved away from cigarettes. I'm on vapes, and then they'll be getting killed as soon as I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, like because it got to the point where half time of a game I was having a fag. Half time of the two national finals, I had a cigarette.
Did you?
Yeah,
I never noticed.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And now, like I could feel the benefits of not smoking now. Like I I have more endurance. My lungs aren't aching. I'm not coming off at the end of a game thinking, "Fucking hell, I need need a fag or anything." now it's just like, obviously I use the vape, I get some nicotine in me, whatever, but there's no like it doesn't feel as harsh on me or anything like that now. So yeah, that was a big mistake starting that.
Why did you start in the first place?
Oh man, I was the only one who looked old enough to buy fags at the corner shop. So I used to go in and buy the fags for everyone, and I was like, well, if I'm going and buying them, I might as well start smoking them. Because what like people would typically say, like, get us a 20 deck of L and B, and then I'll give you one. Like, I don't smoke, so then I started smoking. Stupid.
Is there anything that you think someone could have done or said that would have stopped you?
No, man, it was my own stupid decision. Like it was a I could have easily just been a good friend and still bought them the fags and just not taken them.
Or what if you'd have had more business now and gone, like, one cigarette is not a fair trade for what I'm doing.
Yeah,
You can, like, basically, like, if, I mean, what would the cost back then? Like,
it was
five,
like £4.80. Like,
yeah. So just add interest, be like, right, if you give me an extra £2, then I'll go and do it.
yeah, yeah. See, if I'd it would have been smart. I could have been an entrepreneur and started a business.
Or here's a better one. What if you went in and bought the fags and then said, right, I'll sell them back to you one at a time. Quid a fag, quid a go.
That's what they used to do at college, wasn't it? They used to buy them outside. You used to go
Wait,
50p a fag or three for a quid.
you could have charged them a subscription.
Oh my god,
You
Cigarette
could,
Plus.
you could be the Amazon Prime of cigarette deliveries.
Jesus,
Mental.
imagine where my life would be now.
Anyway, next one. What really pisses you off as a teammate? Like, what is it? Is there anything your teammates do, say, like vibe they give off? Like, is there anything in particular that happens that would, or anything that they could do that would really piss you off?
Yeah, this isn't something that happens much now, but it's something that if it was to happen a lot would really drive me insane. And it's just a lack of accountability. Like, if you fuck up, say you fucked up and, hold your hands up. Yeah, that's my bad. I do it all the time. I am not the perfect football player and I am not the perfect teammate. But when I fuck up, I go, yeah, that was on me, that. And you are respected so much more for it. And people give you leeway when you do that. Whereas if you say, no, this person was in the wrong, and that's why I didn't do X, Y, and Z, and then everything's recorded at football. So then you look at it and you go, well, that person's a knobhead because they just got it wrong, you know, and then they didn't take the accountability to do it. So then you're less likely to trust them when
Hmm.
something does go wrong and it's not their fault and they say, no, this has happened. You go, ah, fuck off. You're just trash, man, because you told us this last week. So I think, yeah, lack of accountability is probably the worst thing for me for a teammate.
Yeah, I think like anything regarding blaming a teammate for something going wrong is a bad way to go. Like you have to look at it from what's your role within that. You
Mm,
can't just stand there pointing a finger. That's the easiest thing to do. If
yep,
you to have a look at what actually influences it, it's a very different picture. Like I know, we spoke earlier about that fake punt that we ran against Stockholm, and it was going to be a fake every time from the initial play call.
yep,
Then we got the flag. I had a chat to Homer, and he was like, "Just fucking kick it," and I was like, "Okay." And my mindset going into that, when the ball snapped, I was going to kick it all the way.
yep,
And then as soon as we rolled out, and I looked up, I was about to kick it, and I thought, "Fuck it, we're on." And I put my head down and thought, "Mm," and it didn't quite work out. And as soon as I saw him come off the block, I was like, "Fuck, Homer's gonna be fuming." I was like, I'm sorry. Like I was
yeah,
100%. It wasn't disobedience. It wasn't
no,
disregard or
it
disrespect.
was on.
Just like it. Like I thought it was there. I thought we could do it, and I fucked up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and
Um,
he will have just gone, you fucking idiot, right? Let's get it next time.
yeah, I just
In
think
in in a more Homer fashion.
like he's just like fuck off, fuck's sake, fuck you, Lenny, dickhead. That's what he was like. That's what
Yeah,
that deep down. That's what he was thinking, 100%.
yeah,
Because I was thinking the exact same thing.
yeah.
Um, Worst thing that a coach or teammate could say about you.
Hmm. Oh, that's a hard one. Worst thing a coach or teammate could say about me. I think some people think I'm a bit too cocksure. This uh, confidence can sometimes be seen as arrogance or cockiness or whatever. But so I think that's definitely something. Well, I mean, I've heard murmurs of that before, and it won't ever put me off being who I am or how I am as a person because I feel like it's part of me. If you don't like me, I'm not here to please every single person who I play football with. I'm here to play football. So, um, yeah, yeah, I'll go with that. Too cocksure.
So if someone was to call you cocky, would that do it?
Yeah, I'd be annoyed about it because I'm not cocky. I'm confident in my abilities, and if I was cocky, I'd tell you that I was the best linebacker at the Manchester Titans, and that's because I am. But told you I was the best linebacker at the Manchester Titans because I have to believe that I am. That's not a cocky person. That's somebody who's confident in their ability.
Why do you think it, or why would that bother you if someone did say that you were cocksure?
I just because it's not true. You can call me all sorts. Like people call me a fat cunt on the field. Well, yeah, I am, but I'm still making tackles on your sideline. So you know, or so I'll take anything that's true. But come up with something that's kind of legit. Don't just make something up to fit your kind of storyline.
That's fair. That's fair. What would you say your hopes and aspirations are for the remainder of this season coming up? And then also for GB further
Yeah.
down the line.
So 100% three-peat. That's it has to be. It has to. That is the goal that we have set, and it's the minimum standard. Anything less than that is a fail. Um, just because that's who we are. We went out and said last year that nothing less than back to back was acceptable. That's exactly the same this year. Like, am I saying that there's not going to be some ups and downs on the way? Absolutely not. We've had some downs already, and we've had some ups already. Like, it's kind of, I think that's part of a football season. But yeah, definitely, definitely three-peat
I think
is what I want for the Titans.
I think we've also played against two of the best quarterbacks I've ever fucking seen in this country.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah, 100%. And then GB wise, obviously, the goal is to win the two games in October and get selected to play in those games.
What are your thoughts on those two games looking ahead? And your thoughts and feelings on those two games, Germany and Sweden.
Listen, Germany haven't been outside the top four like ever
No,
in Europe.
I think that's Sweden, isn't it?
Is it sweet? Oh, and
Yeah.
Germany have been European champions before, haven't they?
Ridiculous
So
number of times, and then almost haven't been involved at any point over the last few years because they just haven't really
no,
bothered with it.
no, they had all that issue with the ELF, didn't they? And players not being released, etc. Look, I know, and I'm sure everybody involved in the GB South knows, those two games are not easy games. But Germany and Sweden also know that playing Great Britain aren't easy games. So, it's going to be a dogfight.
Do you think we get taken seriously at international level?
I like to think so. I've obviously had some involvement with the GB under 19s. I've spoken to um, people who have coached at international level who speak very highly of the GB setup, the adult GB setup. So I think we're taken more seriously at an international level than we give ourselves credit for.
I think that's probably fair as well. That's probably fair.
But I like the fact that we play with a chip on our shoulder. Like I don't want us to think, oh yeah, people fucking respect us, so you know it is what it is. I want to go out there thinking like we're going to show them why they should respect us.
Do you feel like we're probably underdogs going into both those games?
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
You still
So
think we're going to
the last two underdog stories that I've been a part of were great.
win? The last two.
Oh yeah, you're not telling me that D Williams coming back at quarterback for London Warriors last year's national final. Nope, that people weren't saying right. They're going to wipe the floor with them now. So you know,
Nah, I think I think as reigning national champions, you're always going to be favourites.
I would have agreed with you up until playing and seeing the build up to the last year's national final. I still think that the majority of people were expecting London to bend us over.
I think the majority of other people probably were, but
Mm.
I think the majority of other people probably only have two eyeballs on the south and an ear in the north. Like I think
Yeah,
there's there's very little kind of I would say depth when it comes to acknowledging both sides of that Premiership division. Obviously, Bristol very, very strong this year. London very, very strong as always, given the Blitz Warriors unification, which I find very interesting. They're all friends now. It's
it
weird.
is. It is weird.
This is what GB's done to the national game. Um, but I think as the reigning champions, you always go in as the favourite. Obviously, it depends on. There's always a massive shift in recruitment. Everyone loses players. Everyone brings new players in, and then it's a toss up because even as you get up to that playoff time and those games come around, all you've seen of each other is what you've seen on tape. And as we've said earlier, like it's not a reliable gauge for who is actually going to perform and do best on the day, is it?
Exactly. You know, I mean, what was it? Solent got slapped by London Warriors this weekend, just gone. But who are we to say that? Yes, we'll watch that back of film and go, "Oh, Solent were really bad on film." We don't know that Solent aren't as good as we are, and that London had just absolutely dominated a team who were as good as we are. We don't know that because we've not played those teams. So, I mean, I know that, but is what it is.
Always a tricky one to gauge, but we'll just have
Yeah,
to.
I love it, man. That postseason is so much fun because you're playing a team that you haven't played this season. There's more on the line. You know, an undefeated season's great, but I would rather be 9-1, 8-2, win a national final than go 10-0 and losing the semis. So there's definitely more on the line when it comes to that postseason push.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you, what does the process look like for the rest of this year?
Um,
How preparing?
I obviously I'm preparing like I do every year. Um, Dead chilled with football. Like it's up there in my top of my priority list. Just only narrowly being beaten by my children. And Steph comes third, unfortunately for her. She's well aware. Um, uh,
It's all
I
right because
sold.
she's already confirmed on her list. You're like 6 or 7,
Oh
so
yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah. So that's fine. Um, yeah. So preparation is as it always has been. I will go into this year and give absolutely everything I can to make sure that my abilities assist the team in winning
by any means necessary.
any means necessary.
Mint. I love it. Jack, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on and chat to you.
Thanks for
And
having me.
we'll have to do it again at the end of the season.
Yes, we'll recap.
Mm. We'll see if we've lived up to the hype, the expectation. Also, actually, no. Before I let you go,
Oh, go on.
have you noticed a big difference in people's attitude toward the Titans from the outside, from that point of winning the first championship to now?
People hate winners. People hate everybody who wins. And not just in British football, not just in football, in every sport, right? People hate winners. So pre kind of 2021, everybody loved the Manchester Titans. They were winning Team of the Year. They had the best program set up. everyone was talking about how teams need to be more like Manchester and do things as Manchester are doing them. Look how well they're doing. They've been promoted. They went from Div 2. They're into Div 1. They won Div 1. They're competing in the Prem. You become national finals. Everyone's like, fuck Manchester, you know? And it's like, well, you're only saying fuck Manchester out of jealousy. You know, you 4 years ago, you were saying people needed to be more like us. And now you're saying that you don't like us. And it's just solely because of winning. And you notice it in all aspects of sport. In the late 90s, early 2000s, in the English Premier League, everyone hated Man United. People then hated, well, I don't know much about football. I stopped watching it around then. But people now hate Man City, don't they? Because they're winning everything.
But yeah,
Um,
they also actually cheat. They've got an asterisk next to everything with
oh, okay.
with the number 115.
Right. I don't know what that means, but okay.
You don't.
But like, I've just started watching. I'm 5 seasons into that season on Netflix about the F1 Drive to Survive.
Yeah, yeah,
And you see it in there. People hate Lewis Hamilton because he wins all the time. Now Max Verstappen's becoming like where I'm up to. Max Verstappen's taken over, and everyone hates him because he's winning. So yeah, it's that
yeah.
whole
I
adage of like first they'll ask you why, and then they'll ask you how.
yeah. I think there's a bit of conflict in my house with regards to the F1 because like Max Verstappen really pisses me off.
Right,
I find him really irritating, but Fiona absolutely loves him. She thinks he's amazing,
right,
and she's like sat me down and gone. It's almost like like for me as a Man United fan, it's almost like the equivalent of if she was a Liverpool fan, I'd have to sit her down and have a chat with her and be like, right, look, we need to take a serious look at this because in the future, when we have kids and that, like you can't be spouting this kind of nonsense and bullshit, and we can't have this split and this divide. But you need to get on the same page as me. It's that kind of. She had that
yeah,
kind of chat with me. She's
wow,
like, "Why do you hate Max?" And I'm like, "Well, he just comes across as a really arrogant, fucking like dickhead." And I'm like, he just really riles me up, like the wrong way. And she's like, "But he's basically the same as you. Like his mentality is the same as yours." And I sat there and thought about it. I thought,
oh shit, I'm
fucking
Max
hell.
Verstappen.
All right. Well, I know what I am then.
Yeah,
So yeah, she had a serious chat with me about that. That was quite eye-opening, really.
yeah,
So it's always good to actually reflect and have a look at how you potentially come across to other people. And that was a real, kind of good moment that.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
you're right.
absolutely.
Everyone hates a winner. We
Yeah.
are all crabs in a bucket. We just want to pull other people down rather than actually elevate ourselves and lift other people up.
Yeah, I tell you now, even when the Manchester Titans lose, people will cheer, and then all of a sudden, say it becomes a decline, right? Say something happens and the Manchester Titans go on a decline. The initial response to that will be like, "Yay, Manchester have lost," and then people will just stop hating Manchester, and but it'll just be the same Manchester, you know. But yeah, they only hate
Yeah, it's
wins
like
anyway.
I remember being when I was at Tamworth, and Tamworth was hated,
Oh
especially
yeah, but like we mimicked that fucking clap on when we were doing scout and stuff. Like as soon as you go to audible to a play and you start clapping at the other team, I was like, that we were like, fuck Tamworth. Like
hey,
I hate like when my first win against Tamworth um was 2021 at home, season opener, and honestly, that to me felt like a national championship because for years of both when I was at Titans in 2018 and then all the years I was in the Prem with the Wolverines, we were spanked by Tamworth and we hated them solely because they won. It wasn't anything else. And you look for little things that they do that you think, right, I can say I don't like them because of X, Y, and Z. That's what people do now with Manchester. We don't like them because they're juice. You know, they talk too much shit. We don't like them because the quarterback throws it with a sidearm. We don't like them because their offensive linemen do griddies 50 yards down the field after a touchdown. Right? Well, no, we're just having fun. You just don't like it because you're on the receiving end of an L.
yeah, yeah.
So
In fairness, that Tamworth defense was fucking. That was legit.
yeah,
That was a solid. That was a solid team as well. That.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
massively, massively.
mix it in with the clapping. Oh, that was hilarious because
So
they
funny.
like I don't think anyone seemed to like no one seemed to expect it, and even
No,
Sam said like the first time it happened, he was like,
what the
"What is
fuck?
going on? What's this all about?" And I think like it used to get our defense going as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Where I think you look at them now, and that's seems to kind of have gone away. Like there's still a couple of guys that do it, but they're definitely not on the same page
yeah,
anymore. Whether
yeah.
whether
A
Wayne
couple
Drew
of the older
can,
heads still do it in that, but
whether
it's
Wayne
not.
Drew can get that back on track, we'll wait and see. We'll find out in a few weeks, won't we? But
Yeah,
um, yeah, still a good team, but definitely don't carry around that weight of like really hate these guys.
yeah. Tamworth have lost their offense. Their offense used to be like quite a scary offense to play against. You know, they're very successful. They've their defense has still got some absolutely phenomenal athletes who play for them, and they still have a good scheme that's run. Um, and it's they're just in a rebuild, and luckily they're in a rebuild when they're still better than other teams in the Prem. So you know, take a couple of years, and Tamworth aren't they're not just going to lay down and take it. Like I know that, and the
Yeah,
rest of the fucking country knows that. You
yeah,
know, they're not happy with being potentially the third or fourth best team in the Prem. They want to be competing for that number one spot, and it'll come.
yeah, yeah,
They're not
absolutely.
taking the number one spot.
What's your thoughts on the unification down south? Like the old, it seems to be a bit of the old adage of if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, it's
Going
weird
on
for
down
me.
there.
So, like, my entire footballing venture in the UK has always been Blitz hate Warriors, Warriors hate Blitz. You're not friends with them outside of football. You wouldn't think about speaking to them anywhere. Like GB camps that I've been to previously, you would never see like a Warrior speaking to a Blitz player. Like, and now, I don't know again if this is football maturing or is like you say, some of the Blitz players are they know. Sorry, very. This is some of the Blitz players that have joined are aware that their abilities should put them playing in playoffs and national finals, and that they're not going to get that at Blitz, so they've gone to do that at Warriors. I don't know. Maybe Manchester have started a thing where you don't have to be stuck at a team just because you were there before. If you want to play good football and have good coaching and whatnot, sometimes you have to jump ship. Maybe that's what some of the
Yeah,
Blitz players have done.
I think my general attitude towards all of it is like number one, I need to believe that we're going to win.
Hmm.
Number two, I need to feel like for me to enjoy myself, I have to feel like everything is focused, has an intent, has a purpose, has a bit of grit about it, has something that, you know, when you've got people putting in the effort, buying in, getting on the same page, dialing into everything. Like for me, one of the things that I noticed about before Tamworth won the first national championship, 2017, I think, it was the practice in the week leading up to that game. Like you could tell, like as soon as we started the warm up, and it was like, right, you say name of the like go walking hamstring stretch, and you get the ready go, and it was just like everyone together, like, and everyone kind of like at that point looked around and was like, yeah, we're on. Like
Yep.
this is a team that like everyone's focused, everyone's bought in, everyone's ready, and I think that's ultimately that's what it takes. That's what it's going to like. We talked at the start of the podcast. Is probably a good way to actually bring it all back to itself. But we talked about professionalizing the game and elevating everything to another standard. And if you've got a few teams doing that with that kind of mentality, that kind of drive, that kind of attitude, and if you can regularly get those teams playing against each other, you get a much more watchable or a much more pleasing viewing experience.
Listen, say it louder for the people at the back. Six-team national prem.
Who would your six be then? Go on.
Man-
Who you killing off?
right. So Manchester, London Warriors, Bristol, Edinburgh,
Ooh,
sorry, a Scotland team. I think if you join some of the EKP and Edinburgh guys into a Scotland national team, like a national Prem team, you need something in the West Midlands. So you're looking at joining the likes of, you know, Coventry and Tamworth and all that kind of stuff. Because you can't pick the current teams as they stand. You might have to kind of manipulate a few into it. But I'd be happy with Bristol Warriors and Blitz maybe from the south, and then Manchester, Edinburgh, Tamworth with some additions or manipulations around who's playing for what team. But 16 national prem, I think, is that's cool, and it's you know that could be the start, can't it? Professionalize or semi-professionalize a 16 national prem with some funding and whatnot. I'm not saying pay your players, hundreds of pounds a week, but if you can make it free to start with, because of cost of travel or whatever, great. And then you can get some financial backing, maybe get it on the TV, whatever, some kind of like the ELF are doing with this, with their kind of Game Pass type thing. It's doable if somebody is willing to sit down and take on the responsibility to go, this is how it should be done.
Jack Watson CEO. Would you want that responsibility? Would you want it?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't ever. I wouldn't take it on. It's way too much. However, I'd be happy to discuss any of this with anybody who would want to listen, because I feel like there's good ideas that people have. I feel like the 16 national premier is not my idea, by the way. People have been saying it for a long period of time,
Yeah.
but I think if you got a committee of people together solely focused on professionalizing the sport, I can almost guarantee you that 16 national prem would be the first thing that could help.
Yeah. I don't understand why it doesn't happen. Because I think if you were to like, obviously we've got the ELF, like that's the elite league in Europe. You've got the top, probably the top semi-pro European league in Germany. And to be honest, in terms of like location, travel distance, everywhere in the UK is pretty much drivable. Like, albeit, like if you were to go Edinburgh to Bristol, that kind of thing, that is a long way. You'd have to break that
Oh,
up.
it's a
But
hell drive. But you could potentially do that one game on a flight. You're only doing it once a year, aren't you?
so
So,
I
and
think
then allow American imports, like 16 national prem, allow American imports. I think it sound. I mean, the way I say it makes it sound really easy. I understand that it's not going to be that easy, but I feel
I
like it's
also think
doable.
we kind of need to plug the drain of talent that does go off to Europe.
Mm. Oh, I mean, look at Titans alone this year. Like we're missing guys who have gone to play in Europe because they've gone to play for a wage that isn't actually that great. They're going over there to get paid an okay amount of money. You know what? I mean, most of them are on what, a grand a month,
Nah, not even that.
like maximum a grand a month, and it's for 4 months, 5 months. Then they've got to come back here and work anyway. So if we can give them that or something close to that on top of whatever they do as their profession as a job, we'd keep the pool.
All ideas. All
Ideas.
ideas. We'll have to see what happens.
Listen up, Baffa.
Anyway, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. I know I said that about half an hour ago and then we started again. Um, but I will. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and I will definitely have to get you back on at some point. We'll review everything, or maybe when we professionalize the sport in the country, or when you do eventually become BAFA CEO in about 10 years' time. Then we'll definitely do this again. But it's been good to have you on, mate. Appreciate your
Nice
time.
one, man. Nice one.
Catch you in a bit, Jack.
See you in a bit, dude.
final shout out to you before I go. Huge thank you to you for listening and tuning in again for another episode. I will be back again next week with another one. Thank you. Thank you for taking time to listen. Hope you've enjoyed it. And stick around for more. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you download it on a regular basis. And I will do my very best to deliver something useful, interesting, and entertaining. Take care. Train hard. See you soon.